Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I feel so weird starting a video because I haven't filmed an official video in like 3 weeks. I have been in a huge life slump, as you guys have probably heard me talk a lot about in my previous videos, because I have just been really going through it and I have put a lot of my work on the back burner in order to focus on just trying to mentally get myself back into a better headspace. I am not able to perform my best, make the best content, and do essentially my job when I am struggling. And I have the privilege, and I'm so grateful that this is my job and that I can afford to take a couple weeks away from my job in order to work on my mental health and make sure that I am taking care of myself and prioritizing myself. So I just wanted to kind of preface that because I haven't been filming anything, I haven't been doing much, I haven't been working much other than launching the collection, and I have a backlog of videos that I've been editing. So that's basically what I've been doing today. But I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about my Juki. So this is the video following kind of the vlog where I opened her up, and also that 24-hour sewing challenge where I started using her in the end. And I kind of want to talk about what it's been like sewing with that, how I'm loving the machine, how I'm hating the machine, if I'm even hating it. And I want to give you guys the entire lowdown of the machine in terms of how much I paid for it, how much I use it, all the things I love about it, some of the things I don't like about it, everything. I want to tell you guys everything. I have my laptop here and it is super bright, so I'm going to turn that down so there's no glare. But I have a whole entire Notion page that I have been compiling lots of stats and stuff that I want to talk about. So I kind of want to just talk about why I got this machine in the first place and why I decided to kind of drop $1,500 on a sewing machine when I had a perfectly working sewing machine that I was using. I did not think that my business was going to experience the amount of growth it did during the holiday season and kind of a little bit before that as well. And I already spend so long making stuff for each collection, cutting fabric, sewing it together, folding it, ironing, pressing, cutting, batting, so many things. If you sew, you know how long the prep work takes before you can even get to sewing. When I was taking a look at how long it was actually taking me to actively sew things, I started to realize that I could do things a lot faster, and I had to change a lot of my processes in order to make my Singer sewing machine work for me and me not like stress out with it. But then I started seeing a lot more videos on industrial sewing machines and semi-industrial sewing machines and how fast they could go. And with the increasing demand of my business and with it growing, which is so amazing, I've kind of had to take a step back and think about where I wanted to be spending my energy. Yes, it is a bigger purchase for the business, but I really needed to make more. I was selling out maybe 1 or 2 of each sleeve and they would sell out. And I would spend almost a month prepping for a collection only for all of them to sell out, which again is so amazing that people were loving my products. But at the same time, I wanted to be able to make more so that more customers could be able to get things instead of only a few and then people getting sad and frustrated when they couldn't get the ones that they wanted. So long story short, I love to talk so much about things, but long story short, the main reason why I wanted to invest in this Juki machine, I don't think I've ever said which machine I have, but I have the Juki TL-2010q. I got it off of Amazon. I will leave the link down below to the exact listing if it's still up where I got my machine. It was delivered really well. It actually was delivered to my door as Amazon does, but it was strapped up really well, packaged super amazing, and nothing was broken. So I was really impressed with that. Like I said, basically in short, I just needed to make more product and spend less time with the tedious tasks, and I needed a machine that could essentially just go faster. I could prep, I could sew, I could cut everything as streamlined as possible, but if my sewing machine could only go so fast, I can only work as fast as my sewing machine essentially. So I needed something that could go faster, and with all of the bells and whistles that this machine came with, the pedal where you can actually cut the thread with, the thread cutter button, the knee lever, there was just so many things that appealed to me and that I knew would make my sewing process faster. And so those are the reasons why I decided to invest in this machine. And honestly, I don't think that I could ever look back. I think that this was the best investment for me as a hobbyist, but also as a small business owner. I love sewing. I want to get into sewing clothes and stuff like that. So we're going to get more into the nitty-gritty, but I just kind of want to preface that about why I actually invested in the sewing machine in the first place. Now, I want to talk about the performance and the quality of the machine. There are so many features that I love with this machine, and just the quality of the actual sewing machine itself as well. I've only ever had the Singer Heavy Duty before getting this machine, so I haven't been sewing for a really long time. I know there's people who've been sewing for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I've only been sewing for like maybe 3 years, and the last year and a half I've been sewing like consistently every single day. So I don't have a lot of experience with different sewing machines, so I'm only comparing this to my Singer. The first thing I love about this machine is the stitch quality. I think that this sewing machine in particular, compared to my other one, has such a consistent quality of stitches. The tension rarely ever has to be adjusted once I've set it to what kind of fabric I use consistently. The actual stitches, they are just perfectly spaced. There's no there's no skipped stitches, there are no missed stitches. Like, everything is just smooth, consistent, and amazing, which is super important for me as a business owner. I need something that's going to be consistent and not have me troubleshooting different issues while I'm in the middle of sewing or batch sewing for a collection. So that's one thing I really appreciate about the machine, is that the stitch quality is consistent literally 99.9% of the time. Obviously, this machine is super fast. I think it's like 1500 stitches a minute. I believe. I'm gonna put it on the screen because I don't have the exact number, but it is fast. I have it on the middle point on the actual machine. There is a gauge where you can actually put it to bunny speed or turtle speed, and I have it in the middle, just in between the two, and that is already so fast, so I can only imagine how fast it goes at the top highest speed. I don't have it at the highest speed because my desk is not heavy duty enough that the actual desk will shake if I have it too high of a speed, and then I can't concentrate on the actual machine. But we'll get to that in a second. The actual machine itself is very durable, and like I said, the quality is really good. It can handle very thick materials. I sew with batting, I sew multiple layers, I sew zippers, can handle it and run and feed that stuff through, even without the walking foot. I know that the walking foot does help when you're sewing through batting or really thick material. I don't use a walking foot because I just don't like it. This machine has had almost no problems when it comes to sewing thick materials, and that's also a really big advantage to having this Juki machine, is because I need something that can handle those thick seams and zippers and going over multiple layers of fabric, and this handles it like a champ. One of my favorite things about the machine that I love talking about is the knee lever. I had a little bit of trouble at first with it, getting used to it, obviously, because it was so new to me. I can never go back to sewing without a knee lever. I think I flip-flop back and forth in between my Singer and my Juki for different reasons, which I'll go into. I find myself like automatically wanting to do the knee lever when I'm with my Singer, and it just makes the process so much faster. Having to reach my hand over the machine or through the throat and flick the presser foot up does actually cut into production time, and I never thought so, because it's like, oh, it's like 3 seconds, it takes 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds, when you are sewing for 12 hours a day, multiple days a week, those 3 seconds make such a difference. It also saves my shoulder. I have a lot of shoulder issues because I'm constantly hunched over my desk, but that knee lever is so amazing, and I'm able to literally zip sew through everything, and it makes quilting so much faster as well, because I'm not constantly having to lift up the presser foot and move everything. I just use my knee, move it with my hands, just keep quilting, and it's just like literally so seamless. Another thing I really love is the automatic thread cutter button and also the pedal. So with the machine, it has 2 options on how to cut your thread. Well, I guess 3. The first option is to cut it with a pair of scissors, but this machine actually has 2 more advanced options where you can actually click a button on the machine that has a little scissor emoji, and it will cut the thread for you, or you can use your foot pedal and press your heel down and it will cut the thread for you. So my right leg is doing a lot of the work when it comes to cutting the thread and lifting the presser foot, which, like I just mentioned, makes production time so much faster. Those 3 or 5 seconds that it would take to cut the thread with scissors, pick up the scissors, cut the thread, lift up the presser foot, put it back down, saves so much time that I never thought it would. I knew it would be faster, but I didn't think it was going to be this much faster, and honestly, it has been such a breeze to quilt and sew and make all of the things I make for my business with these 2 features. So this was like a big selling point for me with this machine, was the thread cutter and also the knee lever. and I can assure you that it is worth every single penny. Another thing I love is that I don't have to catch the bobbin. Again, these are just really like minuscule things that if you're just like a sewer for hobbies, I wouldn't recommend this machine as something you purchase right from the get-go. But if you sew for your business, which I'm sure a lot of you guys do if you're watching this video, then, or thinking about getting this machine for your business, these things are going to save so much time. So you don't actually have to thread the bobbin. So with my machine, I have to actually wind the manual winder in order to catch the bobbin, pull it through, and then I can start sewing. With this machine, all you have to do is replace the bobbin and start sewing. You don't need to catch the bobbin or spend any time fishing it out. I also really love that it has 2 places for spools so that I can have a spool for the thread that I'm using as my top thread, and then also another spool on there where I use that to wind the bobbin. So I usually have 2 at all times. I use like a cream thread for my top stitching, or like all of my top thread, and then I use a white generic thread for my bobbin, and this just makes it so much easier. I don't have to rethread my machine every single time. This machine does take a little bit longer to thread just because it has more winds and turns, and you have to really make sure that it is threaded properly in order for it to work. So I really love that I don't have to de-thread my machine every single time I want to wind the bobbin. And also the bobbin size in this machine is bigger than the one in my domestic sewing machine, which means I'm replacing the bobbin less often and thus making the sewing process faster. So essentially coming to the conclusion that this machine makes sewing faster. And like I said, relating back to why I wanted this machine, I needed something faster. I needed something to be able to make me sew faster and make more product in a certain amount of time. I wanted to go into the maintenance and the learning curve of the machine. So like I mentioned, I was using the Singer Heavy Duty before purchasing my Juki, and for the first, I would say, couple of projects, it was a little bit tricky to get the hang of the presser foot, the speed of everything, the actual knee lever that it comes with, and I was very slow at the beginning, and it was also very weird for me to use the knee lever. Thinking about it 4 months after, where I feel like it's second nature for me to use my knee lever and also my pedal foot scissor cutter, whatever you want to call it, I definitely had to learn the new groove of this machine. Another thing that I had to really learn how to do was the automatic needle threader. It still doesn't really work for me that much, and I find myself just threading it myself most of the time. But that was something that took a lot of YouTube videos and TikTok videos to learn how to use. And so those little meticulous things, I think you should probably spend a little bit more time learning your machine, doing a couple practice projects, making sure you really kind of find your groove with it before you start really bulk sewing for your business or for a project that you're working on. I would say definitely use some fabric that you don't really care about, go thrift some, practice your stitching, practice, you know, getting the groove of everything before you really commit to a project. Another thing that is important for this machine is maintenance. This is something that you need to really prioritize. For my domestic sewing machine, I am not somebody who really cared too much about it. I did oil it every so often. Not sure if that was what you're supposed to do, but I did it anyway. And I would clean the actual like bobbin area pretty frequently because I sew with a lot of dusty fabrics like the batting and the fusible fleece. But with this machine, you need regular maintenance. If you're sewing every single day, you need to be oiling your machine every single day. I oil mine every time before I start sewing because I sew every single day for the most part. I did take the last 3 weeks off, but I sew every single day when I'm actually working. And you have to make sure that you are oiling the inside of the bobbin case as well. There are holes on the machine. Your manual comes with a whole guide on where to oil your machine and how to clean it. So you need to make sure that you are using a little dust, whatever it's called, little dust broom, and you're getting rid of all the lint and fabric buildup. You can use a little like vacuum as well to suck up all of the extra lint. Just make sure you're not like sucking up anything important. So just be careful, but make sure you're doing regular maintenance on your machine. Do not let that slip your mind, because if you take care of it, it is going to take care of you, and this is something that you cannot just look past. You need to be cleaning your machine and oiling it on a regular basis for it to work properly. Some of the cons and things to note about this machine is that this machine, first of all, is a single straight stitch machine only. There are no zigzag stitches or any other special stitches. That's just the way it is. If you want this machine for extra stitches, probably don't get this machine because it only knows how to do straight stitching. This is the main reason why I didn't get rid of my old sewing machine. I was originally going to buy this one and get rid of that one, but it doesn't do any other stitches except for a straight stitch. So if I need a zigzag stitch, if I need to sew a button, I need to use my Singer. Therefore, if you think of purchasing this, but you want to also have those decorative stitches, definitely keep your old machine if you're upgrading. And if you're going to get this machine and find out that you need, you know, other stitches, then I would recommend probably looking into a cheaper little domestic sewing machine so that you can have two. I think a lot of people who have this have two, but that's just my opinion. The LED light is not super bright. I mean, it works really well, especially if you have a well-lit room, but I think if you have a darker room, maybe invest in like a lamp, or you can also get a little LED strip light for the throat of the machine. I've seen a lot of people do that and it works really well. For me, I have a very bright room, so I often don't need extra lighting in here, but when I'm sewing at night, I already have bad eyes to begin with, so I find myself turning on a lamp close to my machine so that I can see better, but it's honestly not really a big deal. Another thing that is important to note for this machine, if you're somebody who sews sleeves or things that need top stitching and you want to put your sleeve or something around the throat and sew around like this, you can't do that with this machine because the throat cannot come off. With my Singer, you can actually pull off the throat and you can sew something around. With this one, you can't. You have to like kind of fold it back, sew it, and then flip it and fold it back and sew it. So that's kind of something to think about in case you know, need that in your process. I would definitely recommend thinking about that before you purchase this machine. Another thing is the standard needles that come with this machine. They have the Organ brand. I think the X1 is what it comes with. If you're sewing anything that is involving zippers, thicker material, quilting thick fabrics, please look into getting heavier duty needles. You can go to wawak.com or wawak.ca. They have such a variety of different needles, not just for the Juki, but for so many different types of machines. I got some needles for my Singer from there as well. I also buy all my zippers from there. I'll leave the link down below. Not sponsored by them, anything, but anyway. I noticed that when I was using the needles that the machine came with and I was sewing over zippers, they were breaking so frequently and bending, and I was actually getting pretty stressed out. Only to realize that those needles are not the heaviest duty that you can get. And so when I was exposed to the world of needles, Organ needles, and some other different types of brands as well, I was floored when there were so many different types. So now I use a little bit of a thicker needle. I use a 16 point and an 18 point needle as well. I think 90. Honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to put some pictures here and some text of the different needles that I use and what I use them for, but definitely buy more needles, and they're not that expensive, but you're going to need lots. So buy lots of needles and try different types and see what works for you. Like I mentioned before, the automatic needle threader is a pain, and I've seen a lot of people have the same issue on Reddit and on Facebook. Just sometimes you're gonna want to thread it right through yourself instead of using the threader. I use the needle threader maybe once every so often, and miraculously it will work. Most of the times it does not work, and I have to just thread it through myself, but it's really not a big deal. I would thread the thread through my needle in my old machine, so I really don't care that much about the automatic needle threader. It's never really worked for me, so I just do it myself. Another thing is that the machine is quite heavy. I think it's about 15 pounds, maybe 12 pounds. I'm not really sure, maybe 20 pounds. But it will definitely need a heavy duty desk. This IKEA desk is the Alex drawer desk, but this specific tabletop isn't available in Canada anymore. I don't know if it's available anywhere else. I bought this maybe 2 years ago when I moved into my old house. I love this. It is so sturdy and thick, but they don't have it anymore. So I definitely recommend getting a heavy duty table, a sewing table. Husky tables are really great for these types of machines because you need something that is going to withstand the vibrations of the machine. I've heard a lot of people recommend you get a silicone mat underneath your machine so that it actually can absorb the vibrations and not have it like bouncing right out the window. Because if you go too fast and it's vibrating too much, I find that it's harder to concentrate on the fabric you have in front of you. I was talking with another small business owner, Nectar Handmade, and she also mentioned the same thing. So just a little note to keep in mind. Something I want to mention for this machine is if you are used to a domestic sewing machine that has a little space for a quilt guide bar in the back of the foot, I guess you can call it, this machine does not have that. So if you want to add a quilt guide bar, which if you do quilting, I totally recommend a quilt guide bar. It has saved my life and I will never go back to anything without this quilt guide bar. I bought the Juki brand. I tried to buy like the OEM brand Juki for all of the parts instead of using like third-party parts. That's just me personally, but I bought the Juki quilt guide bar off of Amazon and I found a video by Juki Junkies. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I don't prefer using a walking foot. I just think it's clunky, it's annoying, and it's just not my vibe. So I needed a way to put this quilt guide bar without the walking foot because you need to have the walking foot in order to install the guide bar. I found this video by Juki Junkies and they showed me, or they show you, it's a video, how to install the guide bar without the walking foot. And I'm so grateful for that video because I was nervous I would have to use the walking foot and I was really not happy about that. And I ended up having it working and now I can sew and quilt with my guide bar and I never take it off. I just flip it up when I'm not needing it and then I flip it back down when I need it. Something I forgot to mention in the pros section was that this machine, I think if you get it on Amazon, it comes with the table extender that makes the machine so much bigger and so much better for sewing bags and sleeves and toiletry bags and just literally sewing everything. It makes it so much better. It also has a little ruler on it that I use for measuring my tabs when I'm cutting tabs for wallets and stuff. Makes it so easy. I literally love this machine. I could talk about it forever. Those are all of my thoughts on this machine. I wish I had more stats for you, but I didn't really think about doing that before this video. I may do another video at some point after a year or so of having this machine and we'll really compare it to my other machine. We'll do like a full comparison video. If that's something you guys are interested, do let me know. This machine has been a total game changer for my business. It has allowed me to make more product in the same amount of time. It has allowed me to make better quality products because of the actual quality of the machine, the stitch quality, and the more extensive features that this machine has. I love using the knee lever, like I said, and the automatic thread cutter. I think that those two things have definitely sold this machine for me and I will could never go back to a domestic sewing machine for a long period of time because I'm so used to this and I am very privileged with her. She is just amazing. So if you're thinking about upgrading your domestic sewing machine to a semi-industrial machine or something even bigger like the industrial machine, girl, I wish. Definitely consider it. I think you should definitely do a lot more research. This video was kind of more of my opinion on the machine and how it's worked for me and how I like it. Definitely do your own research. There are a lot of helpful videos and articles, especially on TikTok, also here on YouTube, and definitely check out the sewing and Juki subreddit. And also I think Facebook has a lot of like Juki groups and sewing groups that you can ask people and they can give you some opinions on it. But I would definitely recommend it. In my opinion, I think that it was the best $1,500 investment that I did for my business. It has made so many changes for the better. I am able to sew faster and sew more product and in turn make more inventory for collection drops and thus resulting in more sales for my business. And who doesn't want to grow their business? Hello. Anyway, thank you guys for listening to me yap about my sewing machine for the last, I want to say 20 minutes. If you guys enjoyed this video and want more videos talking about sewing and just my experience as a small business owner with different things and upgrades, definitely consider subscribing to the channel so you can come back for some small business videos like this one and also weekly studio vlogs that I plan on getting right back into after I get out of this slump, I promise. So thank you guys for watching till the very end of this video. If you watch to the very end, maybe we can comment a little thread spool emoji so I know you guys watched for the entire video and I can give you guys a little thank you for sticking with my yapping. I love you guys so much and I will see you in my next video, whenever that may be. Bye!